A stunning offensive performance, and one player makes the difference for this Orlando Magic team. Why it's Anthony Black is the greatest indicator of how the Magic are going to play today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is November 26, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone, since this will be our last episode before Thanksgiving. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Orlando got plenty of stuffing. A 41-point shellacking of the Philadelphia 76ers, where everything they ever imagined could work offensively worked, and why it all started with Anthony Black. We're going to get to that and explain why he's so vital to this team coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. We truly appreciate you being one of our Orlando Magic dailies, our everydayers. That means you listen every single day. That means you listen on the weekends when we do our weekend episodes. That means that you make us part of your daily podcast rotation. That means we're your first listen of the day. We truly appreciate you for making Locked On Magic this amazing community. We're up to 4,900 subscribers on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, go ahead and do that there. And we also thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. The Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Honestly, I talked yesterday about how the Orlando Magic are a good offensive team, and trying to get you comfortable with the idea that the Magic are a top 10 offensive team. They entered Tuesday's game top 10 in offensive rating. And certainly after what they did on Tuesday, they're still in the top 10 in offensive rating. I still cannot fathom. I am still, my jaw, the game ended an hour ago as I'm recording this. And my jaw is still on the floor thinking about just how good the Magic were in this game. And they started 7 for 21 from the floor and 0 for 7 from 3. The Magic set several records. Their 86 first half points were the most points they've scored in a half in franchise history, topping, I think it was 83 from the Scott Skiles 30 assist point game. That is still the record for most points in the game at 155. They scored the most points they've ever scored in a quarter with 51 in that second quarter. They had the fifth highest scoring game in franchise history. They had 9 players scoring double figures, a franchise record. They had a 137.1 offensive rating, which is the season high. They've had their 3 best offensive games in the last 3 games, in the last 3 outings. They led by as much as 46. And I get NBA Cup shenanigans. Again, the Magic are benefiting from this, but I will continue to say that the NBA should cap the point differential at 20. This shouldn't have been a thing. The Magic should have sat their players sooner than they did, but we'll explain at the end of the show why they actually ran up the score and why that's going to be a good thing for them. This was as insane an offensive performance that we have seen from this Magic team. And the fact of the matter is they've got 5 straight games, another record, 5 straight games scoring 120 or more points. That is a franchise record. And again, this is a team that had Shaq, had Penny, had Dwight, had some really good offensive teams. This is the team, a team that hasn't been outside the bottom 10 in offensive rating since 2012 for 13 years, for nearly a decade and a half. we aren't used to the ball going through the hoop like this. Like that's the point of this game, right? And right now, it just all feels so smooth. Like that there's a reason why, and I addressed this yesterday, so go listen to yesterday's podcast if you didn't hear this. There's a reason why people have this feeling like, oh, is Paolo going to mess this up? He's not. He's going to add to it. He's going to make it better. Although it's hard to imagine anything being better than this because the Magic get a 153.1 offensive rating with Desmond Bain on the floor. That's insane. The Magic get a 154 offensive rating with Anthony Black on the floor. This is real. Like, are the Magic going to score 140 points every night? No, that's not going to happen. The Sixers were extremely depleted by injuries. The Magic were extremely dialed in. The Magic put the hammer down 51-26 second quarter, took the game out, put the game completely out of reach, like ended all hope early in the third. They came out ready to play with intensity and focus that shows that they're cup respecters. You know, again, say what you want about the NBA Cup, and we're going to talk about the NBA Cup because I'm a cup respecter. They are cup respecters. They want to win this thing. And this was as clinical and as dominant of a game that we've seen from any Magic team ever. Because not only did the Magic have a 137.1 offensive rating, they had a 96.3 defensive rating. They shut down the Sixers. In the first half, if my stats will load, I don't know if they're going to load. Okay, they're not going to load. The Magic just, again, I don't have words. I don't have words for how good this team plays. All I have is the one player that is the engine for all of this. And look, it's Franz Wagner. It's Desmond Bain. It's everybody. But no player symbolizes the difference and the shift in how the Magic are playing and what constitutes success quite like Anthony Black. And on a national stage, on the national television game of the week here on the East Coast, Lakers Clippers is going on the West Coast. Sorry, West Coast, you missed out on a fun one. On a national stage in a big moment, it was Anthony Black's turn on the roulette wheel, so to speak. And he delivered a crushing blow. He delivered a game that was, again, just downright impressive. Black scored a career high 31 points, 20 of them in the second quarter. He shot 12 of 17, 4 for 6 from 3, 3 for 4 from the foul line. I know I mentioned this stat a million times already. The Magic or Anthony Black entering tonight's game, or entering Tuesday's game, Anthony Black shot 37% from 3 in the Magic's wins. He shoots 25% in their losses. There's no stat that correlates more to the Magic's success than Anthony Black's three-point shooting. And it's not because, Anthony Black makes shots when they win and misses shots when they lose. No, it is a mindset. It is an aggressive mindset. It is a confident mindset. We know what the starters are going to do. And we'll do box score stuff here in a minute and get to everybody else. Because everybody played well. Even Tyus Jones. Everybody played well. But Anthony Black, what he does when he's aggressive, when he's looking to get downhill, when he's looking to make plays, it changes the whole tenor of the team. It changes how everybody plays. Just like when he is sort of the offensive bellwether, the same way Jalen Suggs is the defensive bellwether. When Jalen Suggs is doing Jalen Suggs things, everybody comes along for the ride. And so when Anthony Black does what he did in this game, it changes everything. So I want to talk a little bit more about that impact and what it all means. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by friends over at Game Time. Basketball season's here, if you haven't figured that out by now, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. So if you're trying to go to the Magic's 3 home games next week, Peacock game, back on national TV, Monday against Chicago, San Antonio on Wednesday, Miami on Friday, could be the first of several games against the Heat coming up here in the next few weeks. Game Time is your ticket to the game. You can get digital seat views so you know exactly what your seat's going to look like as you're preparing to watch the Magic play. You can even find zone deals. These are true game changer. You pick the section and Game Time picks your seats so you can save big. You can even find NBA tickets for less than $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. We want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. And thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Anthony Black does not feel like he should be this bellwether player offensively. Like, his shot is still a little bit suspect. Entering this game, he's shooting 31.7% from 3. That is a career low, although career high 3.3 attempts per game. But undoubtedly, like, what we saw and what we've been seeing from Black and what he's talked a lot about is a willingness to take risk, a willingness to attack, a willingness to be aggressive and assertive. And, you know, we've talked to Magic players for 2 years now about Anthony Black. And everybody will say inevitably, we want him to be aggressive. Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Don't worry about it. Be aggressive. And we can see what that looks like with AB, but it never really came to fruition. Like, you know, Anthony Black's obviously this really gifted defender. He's got great defensive instincts. But what's he good at on offense? Before the season, like, literally, ask yourself, like, what is he good for on offense? There's a reason why there was a little bit of debate among fans about him, and why I noted a little bit during the offseason, I said, like, one of my concerns is that they've put a lot on Anthony Black's plate. They're trusting Anthony Black to take a major step. We all assumed the starters were going to be fine. Like, that starting lineup, like, even when the team was struggling, that starting lineup was winning their minutes and killing it and doing really, really well. It was always about the bench and whether Anthony Black could be an anchor player off the bench, whether he could deliver all of that for the Magic. So here we are. Again, 18 games in the season, almost, 19 games in the season, whatever it is, 19 games in the season now, or 18 games in the season, 11-7. Here we are. And we've seen Black be much more assertive. We've seen Black willing to drive and attack. We've seen his field goal attempts go up. He's averaging 9.2 field goal attempts per game. That's up from 7.9 last year, shooting 46.7% on those shots, by the way. He is getting to the line a little bit more. He is forcing his way to the basket. Even little things, like Black trying to dunk over everybody. He had another dunk attempt that was blocked, but the aggression and the aggressive mindset of, I am going to score. That's what's different about Anthony Black. That's why he has taken this leap. And that's why he feels like a much more impactful player, because it doesn't feel like he's afraid when he has the ball anymore. And not that he was before, but you get that sentiment. Like, you get the sentiment that he was happy to be kind of ignored in the corner. And look, defenses still aren't buying his three-point shot. So those shots are going to be there. And when he makes them, that means the defense has to account for him in a way that they weren't planning to before. And that opens things up for everybody else. There's a reason why Black had 7 points in the first quarter, 20 in the second, but only 4 in the third. It's because the threat of Anthony Black opened everything else up for Franz Wagner to take over, for Desmond Bain to take over, for the rest of the team to do their thing. And again, that's kind of what the point of this offense is. That's what a by-committee offense is supposed to do. It's supposed to go where the ball needs to go. Now, like, the problem for the Magic is because the Magic have such few shooters and have such suspect shooting, the ball's going to find the bad shooters. Defense wants the bad shooters shooting those shots. And so when the ball finds them, they've got to deliver. And again, more and more, Anthony Black is delivering. The way that he scored in that second quarter, the 20 points that he scored in that second quarter, they were all within the flow of the offense. They were all because of the work that the Magic did on defense. As poorly as they played defensively in the first quarter, fouling a lot, not getting back on in transition because of because of the early misses that they had. All of those things, the Magic needed to settle down. But once they started getting turnovers themselves, once they started creating some offense from their defense, that's when everything changed. That's when this team found its groove and got itself going. Orlando finished with 25 fast break points, 80 points in the paint. This is not a team settling for threes. They scored 11 turnovers and only allowed 12 points off turnovers. So again, once the first quarter ended, that cut off. They forced 21 turnovers for 36 points off turnovers. When we talk about the Magic being one of the best offenses in the league, this is what we're talking about. This is what we mean. This is who the Magic can be. This is who the Magic are. This is what the Magic try to do. Orlando's offense is based off its defense. And again, as good as Anthony Black is, look, confident enough to try and dunk over everybody, confident enough to take step-back threes with regularity, what's making this offense work is that the Magic are playing defense a little bit better. They're getting more turnovers. They're scoring in transition. They're one of the most efficient transition teams in the league after being one of the worst in the league last year. It's one of the great transformations on this roster and of this team. The Orlando Magic are now 7th in the league in offensive rating, 117.9 points per 100 possessions. We're 19 games in. We're almost a quarter of the way through the season. If the Magic play like this, moving the ball, getting up court quickly, attacking off of their defense, attacking off of their defensive strengths. 38 assists on 54 field goals, by the way. 13 for 34 from three. They started the game 0 for 7. So that makes them 13 for 27 the rest of the way. When the shots aren't falling, finding the grit to get offensive rebounds. Magic had 15 offensive rebounds in this game. They dominated the glass. When they were missing shots early in the game, they were cleaning up under the basket. And that's what kept them in it while they were kind of figuring themselves out. And guess who helped them stay in that game? It was Anthony Black making the shot. But everything they did just flowed naturally. Everything they did happened quickly, happened in transition, happened because they were getting out and run and dictating the tempo of the game. The ball found Anthony Black. And the Magic understood he was hot. They were working to get it to him. But he didn't have to create very much. He just had to run the floor hard. He just had to get downhill. He just had to get into the paint. That's replicable. You can do that every night. Now, getting stops is the challenge, and that's, still inconsistent for this team. But everything the Magic did Tuesday night, again, weak opponent, Sixers were hurt, like all that stuff. NBA Cup game, the Magic were going to put the hammer down when Philadelphia, who's eliminated now, was out. But all this stuff they can do again. There's no reason to think the Magic can't keep scoring like this if they keep playing like this. And again, it starts with your stars. Jalen Suggs had 11 assists. Franz Wagner still did Franz things. Desmond Bain is, really eager to move the ball. Like Dez is a quick mover. Like he is comfortable now. And he's figured out where to get his spots. The threes aren't there yet. Not going to lie. Not going to deny that. The threes aren't quite there yet. He's 1 for 5 on threes in this game. 6 for 15. Like one guy who didn't shoot the ball well, but 6 assists. He uses team high plus 44. He uses the attention that he gets really, really well. And that's only going to get better when Paolo's back. And Paolo's there. And you have another guy who can set you up. That's really going to be big. Like having Paolo to set him up for threes, for shots. But the Magic all of this feels very permanent. all of this feels like they could do this very, very easily for the rest of the season. Again, shots got to go down. Like, not going to sit here and deny all of that stuff. But the Magic have something. And as long as they're aggressive, as long as they're assertive, as long as they understand what their identity and what their commitment needs to be, they're going to be able to keep doing stuff like this. They're going to be able to keep having performances like this. And again, if you're looking for a bellwether, if you're looking for some signal, some symbol that the Magic are about to have this crazy good offensive game, watch how Anthony Black plays. Is he making his shots? Like, that's important. Is he being aggressive with the ball? If all that happens, we might be looking very, very quickly at a team that can win the championship this year or compete for a championship this year. Not wait, this year. Obviously, Friday is a very, very important part of that journey. Talked a lot about what Anthony Black did. Let's get to the rest of the team. We'll talk how the Magic got this win beyond Anthony Black just being amazing. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, there we go. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Drip Drop. When I'm hydrated, everything just works better. My focus, energy, mood, even my skin. That's why I've been using Drip Drop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power, no matter what my day looks like. Drip Drop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers three times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands. Using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and more than 90% of top college and pro teams. With Drip Drop, it's a sports drink that tastes amazing. You can find plenty of flavors to go to, and it's your secret weapon to stay sharp and energized throughout a long day. Hydration is non-negotiable. I need to drink some water right now, actually. Drip Drop helps you feel sharper, calmer, and honestly, just better overall. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's dripdrop.com. Promo code LOCKEDONNBA for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard, and in Florida, that's always around the corner. And keep your body and mind performing at their best with Drip Drop. Let's run through the final box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the Philadelphia 76ers 144-103. Again, just a complete dismantling. You can listen to Locked On Sixers. I'm sure they'll have a lot to say about this game. They were hurt. No Joel Embiid, no Paul George, no VJ Edgecombe. They lost. They had no Adam Bona. They lost. Who'd they lose? They lost a key. They lost a starter in the first half. Like, walking wounded over there with Philadelphia. This is not a representation of who Philadelphia is. You know, I'm always keen to say, in these kind of games, a 30-point loss or a blowout loss like this says more about the losing team than it does about the winning team. Honestly, this is one of the few occasions I would disagree with that general maxim. This game says a lot about how the Magic are playing and a lot about what the Magic are doing and doing well and just being so ruthless about how they're doing it. Again, these are the kind of games that frankly, the championship level teams do. You have a weakened opponent, you find your gear, and you just don't let go. And again, some of that is the NBA Cup. If this weren't an NBA Cup game, the Magic probably win by like 25. Because it's an NBA Cup game, because the Magic know how important point differential is, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Accelerating, leading by as much as 46, winning this game by 40 became a very clear goal. It became very, very important to do so. So on behalf of the Orlando Magic and Orlando Magic fans, I want to apologize to Philadelphia 76ers and Philadelphia 76ers fans for having to run the score up like that. Again, I believe that the NBA should cap point differential at 20, at plus or minus 20. You shouldn't be able to gain or lose more than 20 points in any NBA Cup game. If point differential is going to be a thing, I think capping it is the way to go to avoid situations like this. It's better for player health anyway. But here we are. The Magic, again, they were just ruthless. They gutted the Sixers. Like, I have no other way to say it. They carved them. Thanksgiving theme. They stuffed them Thanksgiving theme. But again, Anthony Black, 20 of his 31 points in the second quarter, 12 for 17 shooting, 4 for 6 from three, dominated every aspect of that quarter. Just all over the place. But Orlando got plenty of scoring from elsewhere. Franz Wagner had 21 points, 8 for 13 shooting, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Did a lot of his work in the third quarter. Now that the defense was shifted toward AB, Franz was just getting to his spots, getting to the rim. And again, just a steady. I'm big on stars who are steady drum beats. Like they have their big runs, but they're just providing points throughout the course of a game when if they're not needed. Franz was a constant threat, and I loved his game. Desmond Bain, team high plus 44 in this game. Magic won by 41. 15 points, 6 assists, 6 for 15 shooting, 1 for 5 from three. He missed some shots and missed his threes, obviously, but generally Dez, especially in the third quarter, when Magic were up by like 25 entering the third quarter. And I remember when the third quarter started, I was like, Magic have to put the hammer down in the first 5 minutes. Do not let them get up. Do not even let them think about coming back. They'll quit. They'll leave this alone. Again, we saw the Magic reduce a 26-point lead the other night. So if you can put the hammer down and really make this a blowout, make us care about the point differential stuff, that is a victory. And Dez was really key to getting the team downhill and getting the team kind of going in that third quarter after the 51-point quarter to just put this game completely away. A lot of minor scoring. Wendell Carter had 12 points, 8 rebounds. Solid game for Dell. Good defense, as always. Just great presence around the basket. Did a good job keeping Andre Drummond from being an impactor on the offensive glass. Drummond still had 11 rebounds, but did a great job keeping him off the offensive glass, making him a non-factor on offense. They got into their hand fight. We'll talk about that now. So at the end of the second quarter, Philadelphia's clearly frustrated with how things have gone. Dell and Andre Drummond got into a little shoving match with Wendell Carter, and on the last possession, or one of the last possessions of the quarter, Dell's getting ready to set a screen. Drummond's got his hand on Carter's back, and Carter just like kind of swats his hand away and just like takes his literally pulls Drummond's hand off his back. Drummond puts it back. Drummond's called for the foul, so like the ref saw it, and Carter kind of turned to him and being like, what are you doing? And Drummond literally squared up, like put his fists up, and Carter just like gave him this look like, what are you doing? That's rough. That's a really rough look for Andre Drummond. But, it being the Magic are a super physical team. I think that really got under Philadelphia's skin in this game. They did a good job doing that. That's what Orlando does. There were a lot of fouls in the first quarter. Orlando was looking for the line, and they made it very, very clear. Like, if you're going to come in the paint, you're going to get hit. And you might get the call, you might not, but you're going to get hit. And then Jalen Suggs comes running in. I think I don't know if his intentions were good, actually. Jalen Suggs was talking for a while with the Philadelphia fans and the Philadelphia players. He comes running in, gives Drummond a shove. Like, he shoved him off of Carter. They started getting into it. Trendon Watford got into it with Jalen Suggs. Suggs ended up with 2 technical fouls off the play. He was ejected. Hopefully that is it. I do not think he should be suspended for the next game, but I'll be watching my email throughout the course of Wednesday to see if there are any additional penalties coming. Would not be shocked if Jalen Suggs takes a fine for that. Suggs finished with just 4 points, 2 for 7 shooting, 0 for 3 from 3. Did have 11 assists. Like, he was moving the ball, getting it around to everybody, getting out in transition, especially in that second quarter. Like, AB benefited a lot from Jalen Suggs being there. Things were working really, really well. But again, Jalen Suggs played only 15-41, sat out the second half because he was ejected from the game, which he doesn't need to be. NBC broadcast caught Jamal Mosley like pointing to his temple, like trying to get Jalen Suggs to focus back in and not get into the histrionics with the fans. Suggs was definitely getting into it with the fans. When the Magic took their big lead, he was waving at the fans in the second quarter, heading into a timeout. He threw his jersey into the crowd and was like waving, egging them on. Like, Jalen walks that fine line. And I've always joked, like, I don't know if fans in the NBA are going to love him or hate him when the Magic get to a deep playoff series, but it's going to be one or the other. And I don't know which one it's going to be. Magic fans obviously love Jalen Suggs. This was Jalen Suggs this was Jalen Suggs not finding the line appropriately. So hopefully, I don't think he'll be suspended. He did not need to jump in. He was certainly an escalator, and the league tends to not like people who escalate situations like that. So I do expect that he will be fined or, have a conversation with the people he needs to have a conversation with. So that was that. Tristan De Silva, 10 points, most of them in the second half. He picked up 3 fouls right in the first quarter. That was pretty much it for him in the first quarter or any consequential games, but he did make some shots in the second half. Goga Batadze, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds. Really nice game from Goga, just really, really active around the basket, had a block, was good around the basket. Noah Penda, building off a good game on Sunday, 10 points, 9 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds, 2 assists. He was 3 for 9, like feeling himself a little bit, but with Jonathan Isaac out with back spasms, Penda came in, loved Penda's defense, like held his own defensively on the perimeter and in the paint, was active around the basket. Again, I don't think he really forced very much. It's very, very clear he's young and still learning kind of on-ball skills a little bit. But I loved what Penda did. Again, the story of this game was depth. The Magic had depth. Like everybody contributed something. The only 2 players, like Jamal Cain scored 1, Orlando Robinson scored 0. Everyone else, and Jalen Suggs had 4. Everyone else, Jace Richardson was the only other player to be under 10 points. He had 7, 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. Again, Jace continues to do some really nice things, continues to look like a rookie in other ways. Garbage time minutes, I'm not reading too deeply into it. But again, I'm of the opinion that Jace Richardson should play a little bit more. They should point out a game, pick a game for him to play and give him those minutes. Speaking of which, then, give Tyus Jones his props. Like, please, this is not the day to be upset about Tyus Jones. 10 points, 3 assists, 3 for 4 shooting, 2 for 3 from 3. The Magic were down by 8 in the first quarter. They could not hit a shot to save their lives. And then Tyus Jones hit a 3 late in the first quarter that kind of broke the seal a little bit. Anthony Black hit a 3 right after that. And then Tyus Jones hit another 3 to beat the first quarter buzzer. And the Magic were tied at the end of the first quarter, I believe 34 all. And then it was off to the races from there. Tyus Jones is still doing good things. I know the shooting has not been where the Magic want it to be. He's made, I think, 5 of his last 9 3-pointers over the last 5 games. Again, not shooting enough perhaps, but Tyus Jones did good things. Now, defensively, of course, a little bit of a struggle, always was going to be, but Tyus Jones did, this is not a game to complain about Tyus Jones. Magic turned to him. He delivered critical points. If Tyus Jones doesn't make those 2 threes, we're not talking about a 41-point game. Like, the Magic may still win otherwise, but that broke the seal. That got everyone to loosen up a little bit. They saw the ball go through the basket, and again, the rest was history. Orlando, again, shoots 53.5%, 54 for 101, 13 for 34 from 3, 23 of 28 from line, 15 offensive rebounds, just 11 turnovers. They dominate the Sixers. Like, Tyrese Maxey still got his 20, 7 for 15 shooting, 4 assists, but man, did the Magic make him work. This is what Orlando is doing to these guards. They hit you, they put you on the ground, they make you feel you, and you're either afraid to drive to the paint, you're dealing with bigger bodies, you're just seeing a lot of bodies and be like, I don't want to deal with that. Or by the time you get to the end of the game, and again, we didn't get to the end of the game, by the time you get to the end of the game, you're worn down because you've been kind of beaten up for 48 minutes or for however many minutes you're playing. Magic did an excellent job on Tyrese Maxey. Just a lot to love about the way that they played. The Orlando Magic defeat the Philadelphia 76ers 144-103. So now, the ultimate question, the question you've all been waiting for. What does this do for the NBA Cup? Get your calculators out. We are going to talk NBA Cup math once again. It's your NBA Cup date. So, as I mentioned yesterday, the Orlando Magic and Detroit Pistons are playing for the Group B title on Friday. Even if Detroit loses Wednesday night against the Celtics, they can win Group B with a win on Friday. So Magic Pistons, the Celtics have 2. Every team in Group B has 2 losses. Teams can still advance with 2 losses because of Detroit. Because if Orlando beats Detroit, all the teams with 2 losses can still advance. They want Orlando to win on Friday. Again, it'll be tough, but that's kind of where everyone sits. But Detroit, Orlando, whoever wins that wins Group B and advances. So winning it on Friday, like nothing else mattered. This game didn't matter because if the Magic won Group B or won Friday, they win Group B and they advance. However, because Orlando won by 41 points, things are going to get a little spicy. You get a little spicy here. Orlando's point differential went from plus 20 to plus 61. That is now the highest point differential in the Eastern Conference. Orlando has an 8-point lead over the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors have already clinched Group A. They play the Indiana Pacers on Wednesday. So when we speak again on Friday, we will know, or when we prepare for Friday's game, we will know where the Raptors stand. We will know what number the Magic need to beat to get the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Now, again, they win because they're 4-0. No other team. Milwaukee's 2-0 at plus 16. They play at Miami, at New York. So I'm very skeptical Milwaukee's going to be a factor, especially considering the way Milwaukee's playing right now. But nevertheless, Orlando currently has an 8-point lead over the Raptors. I would suspect that will change, although Indiana's playing a little bit better these days. With the win streak in Toronto's on, I do suspect that will change. And we'll see if Orlando needs to do a little bit more and see what Orlando needs to win by to secure the number 1 seed. Now, having said that, if the Magic win Friday, if the Magic win Friday, they're going to be the 2 seed. So a win Friday guarantees a home NBA Cup knockout game, a home NBA Cup quarterfinal game. So get excited for that. Start making plans for that week in December. What happens if the Magic lose? God forbid they lose. But what happens if the Magic lose? Well, winning by 41 was actually super important in that effort. So Miami currently is 2-1 at plus 46. I suspect they're going to beat Milwaukee. They'll take over the lead in Group C. Not an issue anymore. We're not going to worry about Miami. Honestly, I'm not worried about Miami. Again, if they finish with 1 loss, the Knicks would have to beat Charlotte and Milwaukee to catch them. So that does matter a little bit. New York beat Miami. So there's still a reason to worry a little bit about Miami. But Orlando currently has a 15-point lead on Miami. So depending on how much the Heat beat the Bucks, then you would also need the Knicks to beat Charlotte and Milwaukee to get to 3-1, and then they jump in into the group lead, and again, a lot has to happen. But Orlando has a 15-point lead on Miami. I'm not so concerned with that. Orlando has a 28-point lead now on Cleveland. Cleveland is 2-1 plus 33. They finish with Atlanta on Friday. They play Atlanta in their final Group Cup game on Friday. Again, in Atlanta. I find it hard to believe that they'll make up 28 points. Now, again, anything can happen. We've seen some crazy stuff happen on the last day of NBA Cup action. So, we're not counting our chickens before they hatch. But I feel 75% certain that so long as the Magic lose a close game Friday, win big, win it all, lose close, Orlando's going to advance in the NBA Cup. I find it, and again, anything can happen. I find it very, very unlikely that Cleveland will blow out Atlanta. I find it very, very unlikely that New York, who is 1-1 at -2, will beat Charlotte and Milwaukee by enough to pass Miami, to win that group, or to, again, they got to make up 63 points over 2 games. They would need 2 30-point wins in order to catch Orlando for the wild card should Orlando lose a close game. Again, it's not impossible. A 25-point win and a 5-point win would do it. But so long as Orlando loses close on Friday, as long as Friday is a close loss for Orlando, they're going to advance to the NBA Cup for the second time. And that would mean most likely a date with the Raptors or the Heat. Probably the Raptors if they were the wild card. If the Magic are the 2 seed, I do think that means they would host Miami in an NBA Cup game, which I think would be great. We don't have enough meaningful, stakes-filled Magic Heat games. Let's make that a real rivalry. So that's where I'm standing. That's their NBA Cup date. We'll have a lot more to say about it after Wednesday's games. Wednesday's games will tell us a lot about where this team's going, but a good night for the Magic. One of the best offensive nights they've had in 2 decades. One of the best offensive performances they've had in team history. And a really encouraging night because the Magic can do this over and over again. There's nothing, they didn't shoot like crazy well. They were just good on both ends of the floor. This is who the Magic can be. And so certainly an encouraging night for Orlando. and one that sets them up to maybe do something really, really special this year. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. You can, of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the places you download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can find us on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, go make your next listen, the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Josh Lloyd hosts the #1 fantasy basketball podcast, giving you daily tips and helping you win your league, all while making you a smarter NBA fan. Find Locked On Fantasy Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. I am taking Thursday off. I'm going to celebrate Thanksgiving. I'm going to have a nice Thanksgiving. I want you to celebrate your Thanksgiving too. Eat a lot of good food, spend a lot of time with family, watch some basketball, watch some football, do whatever you got to do. Have a very, very happy Thanksgiving. I personally am so thankful for this amazing community of Magic fans, amazing community of basketball fans. Thank you all for making this such a great season for Locked On Magic already. Very, very much looking forward to what we have in store the rest of the season. But we will be back Thursday night. Just because I'm not recording tomorrow doesn't mean just because I'm not publishing something Thursday does not mean I'm not recording tomorrow. We're going to get you ready for that game on Friday. That podcast will publish Thursday evening. So set your calendars, be ready for when that drops. Because again, this is a big game. It's a big game. Actually, there is a chance that it's Magic Pistons once again at the Kia Center. One of our favorite rivalries is back. We'll talk Magic Pistons on our next episode of Locked On Magic Thursday evening. But until then, have a happy Thanksgiving once again for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic. This has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.